Hello, everybody. Alireza here, and we're learning English. Let's read a story about Sarah. The girl's name is Sarah, and she wants to have a pet, but not a normal pet. So let's read this story and learn a few words. Sarah wanted a pet, but not a normal one. No dogs, no cats, she said. Her parents sighed. She researched rare pets that are legal. That's how they ended up with a goat named Tina. So she was like, I want a pet. I want a unique pet. That's where we get the word rare. She researched rare pets. Rare is something you cannot find easily. It's unique, it's special, and not found easily. Let me see if there is a synonym for this word. Infrequent, scarce. Yeah, rare is similar to scarce, something that you cannot find easily. Let's continue. She said, I want a rare pet. Her parents sighed. Sigh is like, ugh. It's a sound you make when you're exasperated, when you're frustrated, when you're tired or sad. That sound is the sound you make. The action is called you sigh. You sigh when you're exasperated. She researched rare pets that are legal. That's how they ended up with a goat named Tina. They ended up, so they did a lot of search. They probably thought about, okay, maybe we can have a shark, maybe we can have an aquarium. And then at the end, they decided they wanted a goat. So they ended up with a goat. They ended up with a goat. Let's make an example. I did a lot of research on what language I need to study next. I speak English, and then I said that, okay, maybe I can learn Chinese, maybe I can learn French or Italian. And at the end, I decided French is good for me. So you can say, I ended up with French. I did a lot of research, and I ended up studying French. End up doing something. That's the structure. I ended up doing something. I ended up okay, here's another example. We all wanted to have a day trip. We wanted to have a picnic. We wanted to have a lot of fun. We ended up staying at home because it rained a lot. So we ended up staying at home. Okay, let's move on. That's how they ended up with a goat named Tina. So they did their research and they decided, okay, let's have a goat, which is a funny choice for a pet. Tina lived in their backyard, ate socks, and once ate the newspaper before her dad read it. So, obviously, it's a goat, it's going to do crazy things, so the goat starts to eat everything. She is a domestic animal, Sarah said proudly. She helps me cut the grass. So, when the goat Tina ate all the grass, Tina looks at it, optimistically, in a positive way, and she says, "Oh, this is great. The goat is cutting the grass, mowing the lawn. She helps me cut the grass." Sarah trained Tina to bring her snacks and even carry a small bag. Sarah trained Tina. So what's a train? Train is to teach, to educate. So she educated the goat to bring snacks and carry a small bag. Carry is to move for you. Carry. For example, I always carry a bag. It means I always have a bag with me. I move it with me. So I carry a bag. Let's move on. But one day, Tina ate the school report Sarah tried to hide. Her teacher didn't believe the excuse. My goat ate my homework, the teacher said. Really? Then Tina walked into the classroom with paper sticking out of her mouth. So Tina is starting to make trouble, to cause trouble. For example, the goat is eating the school reports and the homework and everything. She has, I'm talking about Sarah, the girl. The girl has to prove to the class that I'm not hiding anything. Really, the goat ate my report and a goat ate my homework. So she took the goat to school and the paper was sticking out of the mouth of the goat. As you see in the picture, the paper is sticking out. That's the phrase, sticking out. Sticking out. It's sticking out of Tina's mouth. So, obviously, it was funny for the class. Everyone laughed. Pay attention to the pronunciation of this word laughed. Laugh ends with a sound like a f sound, right? So when you add an ed, then the pronunciation is laughed. Whenever a word ends with a f sound and then you add ed, the sound is t. The ed is pronounced like a t. Here are a few similar words. Washed, because sh sound, the sh sound has the same property. Watched, booked. That's all. There are a few more, obviously. There is a se sound, or a ke sound. Here we have a ke. Here we got a che. The p sound, like popped. Popped. So whenever a word ends with one of these sounds, what else? An x has a se sound at the end, so the same thing. Is there anything else? An F sound, yeah. When a word ends with one of these sounds, and then there is ed, the ed is pronounced like a t. Here's another one, boxed. Boxed. All right. Let's move back. Everyone laughed. Everyone laughed. Now, Tina is the class mascot. Mascot is a symbol, symbol of opportunity, of luck. Any organization, any place can have a mascot. They say this is the symbol of this place. So Tina is the class mascot. Sarah's dad still wants a normal pet, but Tina has fans. Domestic animals are full of surprises. Domestic is something related to your home. So a domestic animal, it's opposite for wild animals. Wild animals and domestic animals. So it says domestic animals are full of surprises, Sarah says, and paper. They're full of paper because the goat eats all the paper, and they're full of surprises. Now, there is an interesting, lesson we can learn here. The story about how Sarah's dad is not happy with with his daughter's choice. The dad says, "Let's have a normal pet. Let's have a dog. Let's have a cat." But the girl says, "No, I want a goat." And this brings us to a book. Let's talk about the book Far from the Tree by, I think, Andrew Solomon. So here's the deal. There is an interesting expression in English. It's the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So the idea, the proverb, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, what it means is there is strong resemblance and similarity between children and their parents. Children are usually very similar to their parents. They look the same or similar, and they have similar behaviors. However, Andrew Solomon disagrees. Andrew Solomon says, my book is called Far from the Tree, meaning that actually children are very different from their parents. So at least in some cases they are. In his book, he starts to, talk about deaf children, children who have disability in hearing, deafness, who are born to parents who are not deaf. So the parents are not deaf, and the children are. And then the children have sort of a different identity because they also associate with different people. They are kind of like part of a society. And obviously, the parents cannot fully understand the type of life the children have. And it's not all. He also, in the book, talks about people with dwarfism, people who are incredibly smart, other type of, special children, and how they're different from their parents. And then the idea is this is the takeaway. We all have to realize, regardless of the type of specialty, children could be different from their parents. In a lot of cases, they are. Each individual is unique. And the solution is unconditional love. You have to love your child regardless of whatever choices they make, whatever identity they have. They might be very different from who you are, but you need to love them unconditionally. Now, I don't have a child, but I have a younger brother. I have students, so I have to recognize the individuality of people and show unconditional love to everyone. This also speaks to another book we talked about earlier by Eric Fromm, the German psychologist and philosopher, called The Art of Loving. In the book The Art of Loving, he talks about how there is a sort of love we call brotherly love. And this brotherly love is for everyone. It's not limited to some people. We need to love everyone. However, he argues unconditional love is something called motherly love. So I wish I could have unconditional love for everyone, like motherly love for in the sort in the way that brotherly love is for everyone. Anyways, going back to the idea of the book, Far from the Tree talks about how children can be different from their parents, as we see in the picture, in the story about the goat named Tina. And sometimes parents don't love the choices that their children make, but they can be supportive and help them. So that's the lesson I learned from this story. I think I have a summary of the book somewhere here, so I'm going to try to find it and we can read it together. Let me see. Far from the Tree. Yeah. Okay. Let's read the summary here. It can. It's also good because we can learn a lot of words reading the summary. So here it is. Andrew Solomon's Far from the Tree explores the lives of families raising children who are profoundly different from their parents. Profoundly is an interesting word. It means deeply. They are profoundly different from their parents. Children with identities shaped by deafness, dwarfism, autism, schizophrenia, severe disability, prodigious talent, like amazing talent. It doesn't have to be a disability. It can also be that they are incredibly smarter than you are. So, prodigious talent, or those born through rape. Through means by the means of, or as a result of criminal acts, or transgender experiences. Solomon distinguishes between vertical identities, traits passed down from parent to child, like ethnicity or language, and horizontal identities, traits that children do not share with their parents, often arising from difference, disability, or divergence. So there is vertical identity, like your father is a Muslim, so you're probably a Muslim, so this is a vertical identity. It can be religion, it can be ethnicity, like you're a Turk and your father is also a Turk. But then there is horizontal identity, how we can be different from our parents in specific parts of our identity. For example, you may choose a different religion than your parents. You may associate with different type of people because of these things we mentioned, like disability. Uh, what else? Through extensive research and deeply personal interviews, he examines how these differences challenge, strain, and ultimately deepen parental love and acceptance. So he does a lot of research, a lot of interviews, and he comes to certain understanding and insight. It's an amazing book. Let's read the name again. It's Andrew Solomon's book called Far from the Tree. The name is interesting because I like the expression in English, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Okay, that's it. That's the moral. Now let's talk about the phrase we wanted to learn here, domestic animal. It's an animal that lives with or helps humans. It's called a domestic animal. And there are some examples here. Cows, sheep, and chickens are domestic animals used on farms. Dogs have been domestic animals for thousands of years. The cat is a domestic animal, but that many people keep as a pet. So this part, talking about domestic animals, it reminds me of the process of domestication that is talked about in the book called, let me write it here. I think it's called *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari. I imagine you already know the name. It's a very popular book. So in the book *Sapiens*, he mentions, Yuval Noah Harari talks about how we domesticated wheat. Wheat is the thing you use to make bread. It's very important plant. And obviously, it also domesticated us because as a result of, the new style of life of farming, because before we were hunter gatherers, we just go different places and eat, whatever we had. But then we decided to stay in one place and do farming. And we probably started with wheat. And that was a time when we domesticated wheat. We got control of it, but it also domesticated us because we stopped moving around. We started having a home and staying in one place. And Yuval talks about how maybe that wasn't the best thing that happened to us because our bodies were not, made for like staying in one place, just eating the same type of food and not going to different places and doing farming. So that's an interesting reference. He says, we domesticated wheat and wheat domesticated us. Now, let's move on. There is just one last part I want you to pay attention to, the last part, questions. There are three questions at the end of this page. What domestic animals do people keep in your country? Why do humans need domestic animals? And do you think robots can replace domestic animals in the future? What I want you to do is to answer these questions for yourselves. Either, talking to someone, you can talk about these questions. You can use it in an ESL classroom. Whatever you do, just practice, answering these questions aloud, not just in your thoughts, aloud, because that's how you can improve your English speaking skills. I also put a list of words, some words that we learned today here. So I hope this can also help you in your reviews in the future. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the story and just that's it. See you later.